Thomas Mitchell was 42 years old when his world fell apart. His wife Sarah had left him 3 years ago, taking nothing but her suitcase and leaving behind their 2 children. Since then, he had been both mother and father to Emma and Jack, working double shifts at the furniture factory to keep food on the table. This particular October morning was gray and cold. Thomas was driving home after a night shift, his eyes heavy with exhaustion. The country road stretched ahead, empty and quiet. His mind wandered to the bills piling up on the kitchen counter, to Emma's college applications, to Jack's upcoming birthday. That's when he saw her. A woman lay crumpled at the roadside, half hidden in the tall grass. Thomas slammed on the brakes, his heart pounding. He jumped out his truck and ran toward her. She appeared to be in her late 20s, dressed in business clothes that were now torn and dirty. Her face was badly bruised, purple marks spreading across her pale skin. Her blonde hair was matted with blood. "Miss, can you hear me?" Thomas knelt beside her, his hands shaking as he checked for a pulse. It was there, weak but steady. Her eyes fluttered open. They were blue, filled with pain and fear. "Don't move," Thomas said softly. "I'm going to call for help." He reached for his phone, but her hand shot out and grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. "No," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "No police. Please." Thomas hesitated. Every instinct told him to call 911 immediately, but something in her desperate eyes stopped him. "You're badly hurt," he said gently. "You need a hospital." "Can't," she managed to say. Her breathing was shallow and labored. "They'll find me. Please, just help me." Thomas looked around. The road was still empty. He thought of his children, of the risks of getting involved. But he also thought of what his father had taught him long ago. When someone needs help, you help. No questions asked. "All right," he said finally, "but we need to get you somewhere safe." He carefully lifted her into his arms. She was light, too light. As he carried her to his truck, she whispered something he couldn't quite hear. "What did you say?" he asked. "Thank you," she breathed. Thomas drove straight home, glancing frequently at the woman in his passenger seat. She had passed out again, her head resting against the window. He pulled into his driveway just as the sun was beginning to rise. The children were still asleep. Thomas carried the woman to the spare room downstairs, the one they rarely used. He laid her gently on the bed and grabbed the first aid kit from the bathroom. Her injuries were severe. The bruises, the cuts, the way she couldn't move her legs when he tried to position her more comfortably. His stomach tightened with worry. Over the next 3 days, Thomas cared for her as best he could. He called in sick to work, something he never did. He cleaned her wounds, brought her water, and stayed by her side when the fever came. Emma and Jack were curious, but trusted their father's judgment. He told them only that she was someone who needed help, and they understood. They had learned about kindness from watching him. On the 4th morning, she was finally strong enough to talk. "My name is Rebecca," she said, her voice still weak. "Rebecca Chan." Thomas was sitting in the chair beside her bed. He had barely slept, surviving on coffee and worry. "I'm Thomas," he replied. "Can you tell me what happened to you?" Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. "I was a financial analyst at Pearson and Associates downtown. 6 months ago, I discovered something. My boss, Victor Pearson, he was stealing from client accounts. Millions of dollars. Creating fake investments, forging documents." Thomas leaned forward, listening intently. "I made copies of everything," she continued. "I was going to take it to the authorities. But Victor found out. He has connections everywhere. Thomas. Police, judges, people who make problems disappear. Did he do this to you?" Thomas asked quietly. Rebecca nodded, fresh tears streaming down her face. "His men ran me off the road 4 nights ago. They beat me, left me for dead. I can't feel my legs, Thomas. I think my back is broken." The words hung heavy in the air. Thomas sat back, processing everything. This was bigger than he had imagined. Dangerous. He should call someone. Anyone. But who could he trust if what she said was true? "Why did they finish the job?" he asked. "A car came. They panicked and left." Rebecca looked at him with haunted eyes. I'm sorry for bringing this to your door. You have children. I heard them. If you want me to leave, I understand. Thomas thought about his own struggles, about being abandoned, about fighting alone to keep his family together. He thought about the easy choice versus the right choice. You're not going anywhere, he said firmly. Not until you're better and we figure this out. But your family... My family knows what it means to stand up for what's right, Thomas interrupted. My kids need to see that some things are worth the risk. Over the following weeks, Thomas became Rebecca's lifeline. He used his savings to hire a doctor he trusted, an old friend from high school who asked no questions. The news wasn't good. Rebecca's injuries had caused nerve damage. She might never walk again. Thomas watched her face as she received the diagnosis. He saw the devastation, the loss of hope. He knew that look. He had warned himself when Sarah left. Listen to me, he said after the doctor left. I know what it's like when everything falls apart, when you think you'll never put the pieces back together. But you will. It just takes time and people who won't give up on you. Rebecca wiped her eyes. Why are you doing this? You don't even know me. Thomas smiled sadly. Maybe that's exactly why. Because someone should. Because it's the right thing to do. Because my father did the same for strangers, and it made me want to be like him. Emma brought Rebecca books from the library. Jack drew pictures to cheer her up. Slowly, the house filled with something it hadn't had in years. A sense of family, of purpose. Thomas contacted a lawyer, using the evidence Rebecca had hidden in a storage unit. Together, they built a case, carefully and quietly. 3 months later, Victor Pearson was arrested. The story made headlines. Rebecca's courage was praised throughout the city. But the real story happened in that small house, in those quiet moments of care and healing. On a spring morning, Thomas pushed Rebecca's wheelchair onto the front porch. The sun was warm. The air smelled of fresh grass. I've been thinking, Rebecca said, watching the children play in the yard, about what happens next. The lawyers say there's going to be a settlement, a large one. I want you to have half. Rebecca, no. Please, she said, turning to look at him. You saved my life, Thomas. You asked for nothing. Your children welcomed a stranger. You deserve this. Thomas shook his head. That's not why we helped you. I know, Rebecca said softly. That's exactly why I want you to have it. Let me give you what you've given me. A chance. A future. Hope. 2 years passed. Emma went to college with a full scholarship, supplemented by Rebecca's gift. Jack joined the robotics club at school. Thomas opened his own small furniture restoration business. Rebecca moved into a house nearby. Physical therapy had given her limited mobility. She walked with braces and canes, but she walked. On a Saturday afternoon, Thomas found her sitting on his porch steps, watching the sunset. Thank you, she said as he sat beside her, for seeing past a broken stranger on the roadside, for seeing a human being worth saving. Thomas smiled. You were never broken. Rebecca, just bent, and bent things can heal stronger than before. She leaned her head on his shoulder. 2 people who had survived their darkest moments, who had found strength in kindness. My father used to say something, Thomas added quietly. He said the measure of a person isn't in what they have, but in what they give when they have nothing left to give. He was a wise man, Rebecca said. He was, Thomas agreed, and I hope I've made him proud. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and amber. Inside the house, the children laughed. The sound of home, of healing, of hope renewed. Sometimes the greatest journeys begin with a single act of courage. Sometimes salvation comes not from those who have everything, but from those who give everything despite having nothing. And sometimes on a lonely road, 2 broken souls find each other and discover that together they can build something beautiful from the ruins. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales of kindness and hope. Leave a comment below telling us about a time someone showed you unexpected kindness. Your story might inspire others to be the light in someone's darkness. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.